Is your friendly DM Bilbo here with Monday Night DM with Bilbo. The Vikings are coming on here in about an hour, so I thought I'd jump on quick before I watch some Monday Night Football. Minnesota Vikings with the Giants. It's my hometown, Minnesota Vikings, and I live literally 5 minutes away from the stadium. So it's crazy traffic tonight, and I prefer watching the game from home versus dealing with the stadium. But it is a beautiful stadium. If you ever come here and get a chance to go to a Vikings game, definitely, check it out. Even just to look at the stadium, it's amazing, brand new stadium. Anyways, let's get really what we're talking about is Dungeons and Dragons, right? So first, I want to there's two things I want to do. One, I want to do a little recap from our Saturday game, the Grey Guardians, as they came to the devastation of Sundance Tower. It was a great session, some great role playing at the beginning. However, our recording stopped, and we didn't realize it stopped right when we were getting in combat. So our next game is Saturday. We're going to play a marathon game. In a sense, for me, I've tried to limit our sessions about 3 hours. Some have gone to 4, but no old school DMing where there's days. We put in some marathon weekends starting like Friday night, play all the way through Sunday. Taking dinner breaks and so on, going home, and sleeping, and then coming right back at it. None of those. Too old for those days. But the whole group is going to be in town. We are going to have all of our players, except for one, Fumo, our dope smoking warlock. Fumo, that's this guy way over here. He's going to be out of town up north, and so he's going to miss it, but everybody else is in Canada tonight or tomorrow night. I'm bringing him back, and then two of my other players, they will be flying in as well to play, so it's going to be great. I think 9 players are going to be at the table versus where we have a couple of them usually that are online and or missing. So it should be a great game. But I want to kind of go through what happened in here. What's the big scene? Here we have a giant here down on the ground, and what's that giant over here doing? What's that giant doing way over there? So this is what happened. So the group came to Sundance Tower, and I won't go into the details with my group sometimes. Needless to say, the group came in here, led by Vega over here. She came in first. Though she's kind of out of sorts right now because another thing I kind of want to talk about is in my storyline, I had Monty leave along with Carlane and Janix, which is Carlane's familiar. And sorry for the pounding upstairs. You can hear that in the background. That's my grandson. He's very rambunctious 2-year-old. Needless to say, Monty is Vega's really best friend. And Monty is a wyvern, was once a manticore. Long story, but now is a wyvern. Came back as a wyvern. And so now, as a DM, I know it's big. It's a big group, a lot to manage, and just pulling Monty out of the game, and Carlane, who's been with the group as an NPC since the very start of the campaign, pulled them out and to go try to save some of the druids that are in some woods that hey, lazy giants, get up, someone's here, go kill them. And so they come on in, and a giant comes out. This giant here comes out from this path here, these stables here. This giant here came out of the stables here, and then this giant came out of this chamber over here. Vega being the second person in the initiative, rushes up and casts suggestion on, I believe it's this giant. Casts suggestion on this giant here. Giant was here, this one was over there. Now Vega is devastated and Monty's gone, not very level-headed right now. And also, in fairness, Vega's thinking that, Slosh and some of the other fighters, they're going to be right on up with her and taking care of business. And so she, gets within 30 feet of this one giant, successfully casts suggestion to tell him it's safer to go down the well. So that's all fine and dandy. That's the plan. That's what's going to happen, It misses a save. However, the giants, these two giants, were also at the top of the initiative. So the next thing you know, this giant here is the fastest on initiative. So before any other characters, only Vega and Grungy over here are the only two that have acted. Grungy is on top of the round, and then Vega was second. And the third is this giant over here. And so he comes over and just slams her twice with this great club that he has. Does a ton of damage to her. And she misses her concentration save. And so she loses. This giant comes in and cranks her twice as well. So now 4 hits on Vega. And this one cranks her in the jaw, the last hit, knocks her out. She's down. She's out of play at the time. And so she's unconscious. So now the rest of the group's kind of scrambling in, running to her, getting to her. This, I actually believe, before, this giant still gets here even before Slosh. Slosh is normally very fast. I rolled a sucky initiative roll for him. And so he was slow. And so him and the barbarians over here, they are all dealing with this giant here and taking him down. In the meantime, Cass over here, their wizard, comes and casts, gets over around here, casts Fear. Actually, I think he gets about here, somewhere in this area. But he ends up casting Fear on the 2 giants. And both of them miss their saves, so they're running, they drop their clubs and take off. So one goes running and is going to go hide here in the stables, and the other one, just trying to get away from, goes running this way. And back up, they take down this hill giant here with all the barbarians and Slosh and some of the other members of the group. They assist as well. Slosh now makes his way over here to protect Vega, and that's kind of where we've left off with that. So it should be an interesting story. It should be a quick wrap up. I was a little worried about having the 3 hill giants when I knew. Well, I thought Garther might be playing the dwarf, their dwarf hero, and then Flamezor, my grandson, who's their beefy fighter that can take a lot of hits. He went to a birthday party with his cousin, so he was out of play. So we had 2 of our big hitters, with a lot of hit points, both of them out, as well as Mardor, also a cleric, a war cleric, and he was out. So characters were out of play. This giant did a little murder by suicide with this stone he threw on the ground that had flame burst in it. And so it caused some damage, not much, nothing in the sense risky-wise for any of the NPCs that were over there, or PCs, I believe, as well. So that's where we left off. We'll start this back on up Saturday, so it should be interesting. We'll have this finished, the finale finished, and hopefully we don't lose any camera action here. So with that, let me talk about my other thing that I wanted to bring up, and with Carlane. Carlane's a ranger, so I'm actually going to rework him with a little bit of the new Under Earth Arcana that came out with Wizards. And I've seen a lot of people online talk about this, and they're like, before, yeah, I agree. The class was, just not it didn't match up to the other classes that have been created in the game, and so I felt that, well, it's, it is what it is. But now I think they overdid it a little bit, and I just kind of want to go. I put some notes on. I did the printout, and I'm already making the adjustments in my game. Right now, it doesn't really affect, because we built them on the other Ranger, except I did change something right away, and this is in a sense with the Beast Companion. I did this right off the bat because it didn't make sense to me how they did it in the book, in Player's Handbook, and I was like, and it just hampers why play a Ranger if you have to give up an action. If you're giving up your action to let your beast take his action, I just thought that was ridiculous. I'm like, this doesn't make sense, and that's not, even for the Druid, the same thing. I was like, that does not make sense at all. They should have their own initiative, and their own actions being, hopefully commanded by who's ever in charge of them. But I think really they need to have a little bit of their own independency too, but controlled by the player. So let's kind of go through the class of some things that I kind of switching out that I don't think doesn't make sense. So first, let's start with the favorite enemy at first level, which is perfect. That's always in the game. But the one thing I don't like is, you're just so open with the amount of creatures that you can set. Humanoids, I mean, are you kidding? That covers a ton. And I just, in the sense of role-playing and have your backstory, usually when I'm like, okay, what is your hatred enemy? Okay, I hate orcs. Why do I hate orcs? Okay, they attacked my village when I was growing up. They killed my mom. Who knows, whatever you come up with. But it shouldn't be all humanoids. Oh, I hate all orcs. I hate all goblins. So for me, the first thing right there is be more selective. In my game, I'll be like, well, you can pick a humanoid, but pick one humanoid. And I probably would do a little bit the same with the beasts and the Montastries. Sorry, I can't even say that right now. Montastries. Needless to say, for that I'm going to be a little bit more selective, me as a DM in my game. And then the language thing, just, free to pick any language you wish to learn. No, to be honest, I believe it should be your favorite enemy. It should fall right into there. Shouldn't just be like, just pick whatever language you want. I just disagree with that. So I've scratched that out already, and I've also, on my notes, be more selective in the sense for humanoids. Next, the big one, this is the huge one that I have issues with, is the natural explorer, where you're a master at navigating the natural world. I like this feat, however, you have to really break this down into terrains. It doesn't make sense that Joe Blow, is a natural explorer at the whole world, the entire world. Are you kidding? They haven't been anywhere, so I have a really hard time with this. And so for my suggestion, and I hope they go back and really rework this one, is that it should be in the sense of the natural explorer, swamps or plains, mountains, hills, desert, caves, dungeons, tombs. I mean, you can probably go on a little bit, but I mean, if you're covering those things, wouldn't it make sense? And I mean, the parts with it, I love it. Difficult terrain doesn't slow down your group's travel. I would probably put a die roll to that, but I would say, in a sense, for you as an individual, you ignore difficult terrain in your surroundings. So if you're a ranger with swamps, then you don't have a disadvantage there moving through the swamps. I like the advantage on initiative rolls if you're in that situation. And on your first turn during combat, you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that have not acted yet. I like that. I like all of that, but it really needs to be per terrain. And I think every 3 levels, you should be able to select another terrain. And hopefully, with role playing, where your character's been, that you can go, okay, let me take, for example, Carlane. What I'm doing with him now that I'm reworking with this stuff is one plains, and then the second swamps. They've dealt a lot with the swamps. So it makes perfect sense when you're in swamps or they're out in the plains. Carlane is, going to have these advantages to them. Everything else I think is, great. The whole, if you're engaged in another activity while traveling, you remain alert to danger. If you're traveling alone, you can move stealthily at normal pace. Love it. All that stuff, perfect. I'm completely fine. With the wild tracking other creatures, you also learn their exact number, their size, and how long they've passed. I like that, but I still want to put a difficulty roll. I mean, if it's been a long time, that something's they're moving or whatever, maybe put a DC 10 or something like that. I just like rolling the dice. I like to have that kind of factor in there. So that's my big thing there. I don't the fighting style, that's all still the same. The spell casting, 2-weapon fighting, all that's the same. Not a big deal. And then the next thing here, where I kind of had some, issues with, well, the whole thing calling it Ranger Conclave, I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, I do have some areas. If you're a Ranger and you're a loner, you should be able to be a loner. But I actually do have some areas and some places in my world, in fact, even one here, where they are a group of Rangers that work together, and that would make sense, a conclave. So I'm kind of cool that they added something like that in, but I wouldn't get hung up on the name of any of that. So everything else, in the sense of favorite enemy, you get another favorite enemy at 6th level. No issues there. And I would say, yep, then it's where you get another language too of your favorite enemy. That's kind of how I would put that in there. And I don't have any other notes on the primal awareness, any of that kind of stuff. I really think that's all, fine and dandy there. But then let's go into the Beast Conclave. So this is my big thing, because one, Carlane has Genix, this large wolf that's traveled with him since the beginning of the game, and this was he was a 3.5 NPC, and then of course we converted over to 5e, and so he's a big wolf, and more powerful than a normal wolf. I statted him up. He's an NPC, so I can kind of do that. But one of my players is actually a ranger, and they're role playing to get a panther and to have him as his companion. So they're going to go out, adventure, find this panther, and so he can bond with it, and it will be under him. Now, the biggest thing, and the 8 hours and everything like that, perfect. I'm completely fine with that, and we're going to role play it out, and it'll be fun to do that as a little side adventure. The one thing, though, I do not like, and I just scratch this out right away, if your companion is ever slain, the magical bond you share allows you to return it to life. And for me, I'm just like, that's just crazy. So just send it in, let it die, bring it back. Let's send it in, let it die. What kind of bond is that? I mean, it's almost inhumane in my thought process with the ranger or a druid. They would never do that. To me, this bond, I mean, that's your friend, and you're never gonna just go on in there. I know you're gonna get murdered, but okay. So I took that right on out of the bat. I mean, so if he dies, if they don't get to him, heal him, and all that stuff, he's dead. Now you can go get another companion, or even get this companion raised back. I don't have any issues with that kind of stuff. But in the sense that he just magically comes back after you do another 8 hours and you spend 25 gold pieces, he just wanders on back. No, I just completely disagree. I've scratched that from mine. I also scratched in the sense of companions bond. So one, as I already did this in mine, and so I'm glad that they kind of came back with this. The one part I don't care for is it loses its multi-attack. It can attack and it has its own action, but why not let it have its multi-attack? I mean, you're not talking about a big deal here in the game. It's not going to unbalance the game that much if it's a black bear or a boar or a panther for that matter. If it has multiple attacks, I'm going to let it have multiple attacks. It's not some super creature. It still has, what the hit points it has, and everything else with the beast, I think I'm kind of fine with. There's nothing else that I kind of is like, oh no, this makes it too powerful or anything like that. The other conclaves, the hunter, and I brought a character that I have 3.5 and made him into 5e. And there I went with the hunter conclave, and I enjoyed playing that as a character that doesn't have a beast, and is usually in the thick of fighting multiple opponents. So that stayed the same. I haven't played the Deep Stalker Conclave yet. It's very interesting. I like it. I don't see any issues with that as well. Playing this one. But the biggest one, that makes sense. And if it makes sense, then yeah, we're going to go with it. If it doesn't make sense, it's so absurd. It doesn't make sense, then I'm going to just scratch it and go, well, let's do what makes sense. And I mean, that was in the sense of a new DM out there, if you're like wondering, well, this rule, I don't really like this rule, and if you have a good reason for it, then just scratch it. And if it makes sense. Now I've seen some young DMs that are like, well, I think this spell's too powerful. Well, probably not. I mean, especially if it's been around forever. It's one thing if somebody makes up a new spell and you go, oh yeah, this is too powerful. But if the spell's been around for a long time, been test played through, it just messed up that encounter of yours, or the player is really smart on how to use it, then you should be rewarding the player, not just cancel out a spell. I don't believe that. You kind of have to find your balances. But I've seen that where it's like, I'm just not going to allow these 3-4 spells, and they're like spells that have been around since first edition. I'm like, look, as a DM, you're a young DM, you need to let those spells happen. So with that, I got about 25 more minutes to head on upstairs, get ready for the Vikings to play, kick the New York Giants' butt, hopefully, here at home. And with that, I'm going to sign out. I hope you guys watch our game on Saturday. It's going to be a nice long session. We'll take a dinner break, but we're talking probably good 6, maybe to 8 hours of playing D&D, just like the old times. But you got to take a couple-hour break to mentally refresh, eat dinner, hang out with some of the guys that we haven't seen in a while. So, this is Bilbo signing off. Have a good night. Remember, it's cool to be a geek. Pass it on.